If you go on StubHub, SeatGeek, any of the, ticket outlets, secondary places to purchase your sports tickets. Right now, you could get in to Arrowhead for $30. You could sit at the 50-yard line for under $150. So the question is posed. Are you a wimp if you don't take people up on this offer? Or are you smart to say, I'm sitting this one out? What would it take for you to sit in negative 23, wind chill, snow, Arrowhead? Like, I'm talking, you would have to dress up like you were going snowboarding.
First of all,
you have to wear your
team, right? You have to be there to root on either the Dolphins or the Chiefs. I don't think the casual fan is signing up to go and sit there in negative 23-degree weather and snow. I don't think so.
Are you telling me there's seats that are cheaper than actually subscribing to Peacock to watch the game?
By the time the game starts, there might be a $5 seat spot.
Upper level's $30, 50-yard line right now.
I refuse to play. I refuse to pay for Peacock. I'm going.
Keeps changing. $140 for that. So what Mike, who runs this place, said before the show, he said, if you don't go, you're a weenie.
Yeah. He said, I would go.
Mike thinks if you're the type of guy that sits this out and you have the opportunity to go and it's your team, then you're a weenie. You got to go is what he said. Well, guess what? I love Mike. I respect Mike, but consider me a weenie and I'll explain.
This sounds like a guy who has lived his whole life in Southern California. That is such a ridiculous statement.
I agree. I agree, Dan. Why? You agree. That's freezing cold to stand there, right?
Yeah, and it's not let's just hop in the car and go to the game and sit. It is a full-on production from leaving the house, getting there. You have no idea what the roads are going to be like. In addition to the traffic that you're going to have to deal with, it is an absolute chore and a nightmare to navigate all that.
You have to stop at the sporting goods store. I'm being serious. To get like the hand warmers, maybe get some other layers, get some new long johns, get your freezy freakies out.
Absolutely. And for a team that seems to host playoff home games every single year and will probably do so for the next decade, I can understand why they're under $100. And no weenies will be had if you are turning down to go to this game.
I'm with you on that, man. I don't care how much you bundle up, right? If you're wearing your ski gear, if you're wearing your hot chilies, your undergarments, like you said, freezy freakies, neck warmers. I don't care how bundled up you are. You're still sitting out there in the cold. Your feet are getting cold. That does not sound like fun to me at all.
Now, hold on.
Like, you know what it's like? It's like when you're home celebrating the new year and you see everybody freezing in Times Square, are you ever jealous of them? I'm not. I'm like, here they are sitting in a diaper because they can't get to the bathroom and they're freezing.
True.
It's true. And they're freezing counting in the new year. I'm fine at home in my socks, nice and warm with a glass of champagne. I'll be way more stoked to be chilling, watching that game for $5.99 or $4.99 on Peacock in the comfort of my own home with a nice little hoodie on, all nice and cozy, maybe even a little blanket, chilling on my couch. Way more fun than freezing at that game. I don't care how cheap it is.
To get
it's
in the
cheap
mood
for a reason.
To get in the mood for that game, maybe even turn the air down a little bit, make some hot cocoa, like feel like you're there a little bit.
To get the feel of the cold game.
Now, here's the flip, though, Danny. If you're a broke college kid, and your narrative is constantly, we're, they've outpriced us. We can never go to a game, especially a game of significance. Is this where a bunch of dumb frat guys get together? You and your college boys are like, you know what? We're going. Let's do it. We're in.
Yeah.
And then they all have the flu next week.
And Byer makes a good point about traffic and not knowing the roads and how it's going to be to get there. But if you're a college student, you just want to have this experience, I'd say go 3 hours before you would normally go. That way, you can make it through the ice storm.
And to Danny's point, it's what you have to do, but then you also have to factor in we've now been outside for 6 hours. Right? Unless you're just going to time. Yeah, it is.
Think about when you go skiing, Dan, right? I'm not a big skier, but anytime I've gone skiing or tubing with the kids, after about an hour or so, you're like, man, I need to go inside, have a hot chocolate or a coffee or a cocktail.
Skiing, and I love to ski, the blood starts to flow, you're moving a lot, so you're a little warm. You start to get warm unless you're standing there. At this game, you're just standing there the whole time. That's a nightmare, man. But I do agree with you, Danny G, and I will say Mike has a good point in the sense that if you're a young idiot, basically, and you're getting toasted at this game, right? Then go, because you're on a budget anyway. You're a baller on a budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's technology now with the hand warmers you could put in your pockets. I went to a softball game. No, it was a football game a few years ago, and people had this little portable heater because it was so cold. I mean, there's ways.
Will they let you in the stadium
with
with
a little
that?
portable heater? That's a good question.
I don't even know, because I'm thinking, well, you could, sneak in a few shots of whiskey or something, bring some alcohol, stay warm. Like, I don't know if you can get away with all that, but if you're wearing all these layers, I think you can bring in anything you want.
So the question is, at 877-99 on Fox, are you a weenie or are you just smart if you go or don't go to this game? Like, what is your thought on the cheapest tickets ever? Probably in Arrowhead history. By far the cheapest tickets for a postseason game. I'm telling you, go right now. You're looking field level, lower level, 50-yard line for $140. I saw, and I saw upper deck $30. We're talking playoff game.
Yeah.
Rich, are you down?
Listen,
Would you go?
Lorena, when I was in college, let me tell you a story from a long time ago.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I love story time.
Real long time ago.
There's some story time.
me
on
get
this.
Not that long ago. Relax. This is the early 2000s.
He was wild then.
Was a wild and crazy guy, Lorena.
Wild.
You don't want to get mixed up with a guy like old Rich Davis. I lived on campus at Syracuse. My buddies and I, we were the idiots that would paint our chest Syracuse. I was the C.
Of course you were.
Also stood for a C block.
Stood for cornball.
Yeah.
I was the C. But here's the rub.
Cheesy.
Here's
Davis.
we would run from our college houses, the dorms, the frat houses, Syracuse. But here's the rub. Once we got there, it was inside a dome.
This is why I've always
Cut
been
the music.
This is why I've always been a Covino guy. Yeah. Just that story right there.
Yeah, no athlete's foot. And,
Yeah.
Yeah,
good
but you know
stories.
what though, Dan Byer, Danny G, I'm at least consistent. It's not that I've gotten older and I'm a stick in the mud and I don't want to sit out there in the cold. Even when I was young and I was playing, when I played football in high school and stuff like that, and I'd see they would have these drills where kids would be so pumped to just dive into the mud or something like that. I'm like, yeah, okay, get out of here. I'm not doing that. I'm not an idiot. So, like, especially during the cold
no
weather,
no one
cold
likes
winter,
the cold. You and I both played.
No one likes the
you,
cold.
You and I were both big baseball guys when we were younger. I hated the early part of the baseball season because every inside pitch, you'd have hand stingers all day. I hated batting practice in March, April. Oh,
Ask the guys from Society of the Cold. Have you watched that on Netflix yet? The story of
are you comparing cannibalism in the Andes Mountains to go into Arrowhead?
You know, it was just as
still haven't
bad as
watched
them
that.
eating each other. The fact that they had to sit out there in the cold that whole time. The cold sucks. The cold is a nightmare.
Are you saying people are going to be eating their friends by the third quarter?
By the third quarter, it's a matter of survival is my point. I don't like it. And again, you're volunteering to do this, and you're still paying. I don't care how cheap it is. Again, as of now, 50-yard line, 140. But again, the tickets keep dropping for obvious reasons because the temperature keeps dropping. -23, they're saying now. Upper level, $30 you could be part of Wild Card Weekend. And it's going to be a good game. These are premier teams. It's just so damn cold in Kansas City.
Listen, I'm not condoning scalping tickets, but I can even imagine you go there the day of. You could probably get tickets for $20 at the way things are going.
Nobody's going to be standing out there looking for a ticket in that weather.
Correct.
No, they're going to
He's
start
right.
paying
Yes.
us to go. They're going to be
Yeah.
like, let me give you
Yeah.
$1,000 to go fill these stands, please.
This is like what the Clippers used to do at the sports arena. They walked around the downtown area looking for people, homeless or otherwise, that could go in to fill the seats.
See?
Danny G, can you Google, can you start a bonfire in the stadium or not, just to stay warm?
I can't believe you guys thought a portable heater would be allowed.
Yeah, I think so.
They've started a fire in section 224.
Fire, it's allowed as long as it's in a clear bag.
All right, so that's so funny. So the question is, like we said, Mike thinks if you don't go, you're a weenie. Mike, who runs this place. I get it. If you're a young guy, if you're a young guy and you're one of those idiots who loves to brag about, I could be out there in a short sleeve shirt, or you're painting your chest like Rich did at Syracuse. You're wearing a beer helmet and you're super pumped about it. You're a young college guy on a budget, but you want to be a part of it for the memories with your stupid buddies. I get that. If you're 25 and under. If you have a standard and you like warmth, I think you stay home. I don't think you're a weenie. I think you're just That you're just past that.
Let me give you a quick follow-up. When I was at Syracuse, again, football and basketball games were inside the Carrier Dome, and I was freezing just doing that run. You load up on a couple drinks. That quick little run from the dorms or my college house to the Carrier Dome, just the run was like, so if you see an idiot in Kansas City this weekend, shirtless,
you will for the camera time and just because he's that guy.
I would imagine. Now you might say this is over the top behavior. I wouldn't be surprised if they would pull that person aside and say, "Listen, we can't let you do this."
And by the way, we're asking, would you go? But now that it's negative 23 degrees, has your stance changed at all? Where it's advantage Kansas City?
Do you remember in Mr. Deeds when the rich guy climbed Mount Everest and they found him like frozen in place?
Yes.
That's what would happen to someone, I think, if they went shirtless to Kansas City.
By the way,
it could happen on the field.
Real quick, if you have Amazon Prime, you can go on Amazon. You can buy like rechargeable thermal long johns that are battery operated, and you could wear those underneath.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Actually, Spot, that's not a bad idea.
Honestly, go right now, purchase them, and you can have them by tomorrow overnight. Prime.
Thermal long john?
Check that out. That's not a bad idea.
I have a better idea. Buy 10 of those, sell them at the stadium.
$1,000 each.
Get them in Chiefs colors.
Now you're talking. See, look at you. You should go on Shark Tank, Spot.
Right.
You're an
Businessman
entrepreneur.
mentality.
Call
Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
I mean, they already exist, but okay.
This isn't for amateurs, guys. This is for pros. Like that. That's a pro move. There will be 70,000 people there. It will be 70,000 professionals, sans the 5 amateurs that you said should go from a college. Like you got to do that. You got to have the thermal long underwear.
You got to have your thin-sulated socks on.
I told you.
You got to come prepared. You're absolutely right.
It's not even close, but I told you when I took my kids snow tubing a couple weeks ago, there was some miserable guy just tubing, and he's like, he was wearing jeans and sneakers. He's like, I dressed incorrectly.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be someone that shows up to Arrowhead like, I got this, like way too confident. They're going to be in trouble.
Negative 23 degrees with the wind chill. Tickets are low. Do you go? Do you have to go? What if you had tickets? What if you already had your tickets? You putting them on StubHub? Getting rid of them?
I mean, can you really even get rid of them? I'm telling you.
Because that's the shame there, too, right? You're so pumped about it, but now it's getting so cold. You're like, if you got kids, definitely not. That's a definite, right? If you got kids, you're just setting them up for a miserable time. And yourself.
And yourself to take them to urgent care.
Yeah, because it's way too cold for a kid. What's your limit there if you're living the dad life? I'd say 12 and under, no way. No way.
I don't know. Kids are really good at not getting cold. Do you ever take your kid out to the snow and you have to like force your jacket onto them because they're like, I'm not even cold?
I don't know.
This is like negative 20. This isn't like cold. This is
frozen boogers.
I think
this is
if you're
Dude, right now, 50-yard line
okay.
behind the visitor's bench, 112.
Peaches and
They're
cream.
going down and down. It's absurd.
And they're that low because people don't want to go.
Yeah.
Other times they're that high because of what you can make from it. And maybe you end up going because you weren't going to sell them for 10 times
I'm
as
not
much.
even joking, Dan and Danny G. On a game like this, do they go around selling like hot cocoa?
Yes.
Like, will concessions still be out there and about there?
Yeah. It's, there's hot cocoa is a huge one. Coffee, people take even
chicken noodle soup or something.
Yeah.
Someone made fun of me when we went to the COVINO and I took a little weekend with some of our buds. We went to the Broncos-Vikings Sunday night football game, and someone made fun of me, but I got tomato soup in the third quarter.
Oh, yeah, that's
and it was
right.
fantastic. I was like, oh, this is nice.
I did too. It was actually great. Yeah, so you have to imagine. And can you imagine those poor guys out there selling this stuff?
It's crazy. I've been to 2. We made a joke of the Packer Raiders game that I went to 30 years ago that was freezing cold. I also went to the NFC Championship game in the mid-'90s when the Packers beat the Panthers outside. That's daylight. This is also at night.
Oh,
where,
man.
Like it is a...
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That's another
8 o'clock,
aspect
right?
of it.
Eastern time?
And then you're talking about driving and then dealing with this. And the last thing you want to do is have your car break down at 11:30 at night when you're driving back from a football game. That's why...
Yeah. You got to have a full tank of gas, and you got to take the battery meter thing to your engine and check your battery.
Well, this just seems
Otherwise,
like
you're a weenie.
I mean, this
you're a weenie.
this just seems like a big pain in the ass the more you guys are talking about it. If you go, and by the way, it's going to be really fun to watch because I think besides the game, there's that, of course the game's the focus, but if you don't think there's another layer of, the shots to the crowd, and if there is a snow aspect to this game, and we're talking about how the Chiefs receivers are dropping passes in regular conditions, your hands are going to be, you're not going to feel your fingertips. The ball's going to probably feel like a rock's being thrown at you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why later on we go over our pick six. I think there's something we're forgetting. If Achane and Mostert are good to go, the run game might be what this game is all about. So we'll get to that later on Fox Sports Radio.
But it's a John Quinones sort of question, Fox Sports Radio Nation. What would you do? Let us know at 877-99 on Fox or hit us up at Covino Rich. Want to take one quick phone call now?
One right now. We'll go to Nate in Ohio. What's up, Nate the Great?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What do you do, man? If you got tickets to this, are you going or are you sitting this one out?
Listen, I've been a diehard Bengals fan, and I've been to those 10 degrees single-digit games before. So I'm going. I would go. So, I mean, I went to back when the Jets made the AFC Championship game when they played the Bengals that year. I went to that game. That game was cold, but I still went.
And did you have a
It
good
was a fun time.
Yeah,
It was a fun time.
You know what? You
Even
look
though we
back
lost.
in the moment. I'm sure there's moments of misery, but I'd imagine when all is said and done, it's a cool story. Like, yo, remember that ice cold game? Yeah, Nate was there. Thank you for the call, brother.
But I'm going through the Twitter feedback. The question is, are you a weenie if you don't go, being that ticket prices are dropping rapidly?
People are buying them, though. During the break, I looked on StubHub. It said, you know how it gives you the update? 87 people in the last hour have bought tickets to this event. So people are snatching up these tickets.
Miami at Kansas City, negative 23 degrees plus snow. That's a freezing game to be at. It's going to change the game a lot. Getting feedback at Covino and Rich on Twitter, social media. O. Higgs says, when I was in Buffalo, security was taking the rechargeable batteries for those long johns you talked about, Spot. Imagine that. Taking those batteries, you're just trying to stay warm at the game.
Put them in your prison wallet.
Doug says, hey, let's not forget about the homeless people out there. Doug Jared.
Yeah, that's
That's terrible, yeah. Becky Reese says, I was a teenager in 82 when the Bengals got to the AFC Championship game in Cincinnati. It was -9 at kickoff with a -56 wind chill. She said she looked like the little brother in A Christmas Story with all those layers. Yeah, and I saw other feedback that said, you're going to see a lot of people drinking frozen beer at this game. You'll see a lot of footage of that. It's going to be that cold. Thank you guys so much for all the feedback.
Is it going to be like where you throw the beer up in the air and it just automatically turns to snow?
Yeah, like when you turn hot water.
Yeah, thank you, Suburban G. Thank you very much for all the feedback at Covino and Rich.
And
so would you go now that the ticket prices are dropping because it's so cold?
Just a ton of feedback on this. Strat hit us up and said, after hearing you guys talk about this, there's no chance in the world the Dolphins will win in that cold. So we'll get to that in a little bit.
I mean, we discussed that already, and Rich said that there's no advantage Kansas City. You said it depends on where these people grew up. Where did they go to college? And I said, well, a lot of these players have acclimated to where they are already.
Like, come on. A lot of these guys, first year, second year, third year players, you lived in L.A. a decade, and now you're like, oh, I'm cold. Like, come on. Sean in Sacktown, Covino and Rich. Now, are you, as Mike here said, are you a weenie if you don't go, or are you a smart person by sitting this one out? What do you think, bud? Sean. Oh, Danny G's not there. Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say,
we got it.
Line one spot.
Hey, you're on the show, Covino and Rich. What's
Hi,
up,
Sean.
man?
Hey, bud.
Yo, my brothers in talk, man. I feel like you're an absolute weenie, and here's why, man. You're blessed in Kansas City to have these playoff games basically every year. Being in Sacramento, it's been more recent with San Francisco going, but before this, you got to remember, Rich, you're a Niners fan. There was some lean years where there were 0 playoff games going on. You got to support your team. It's all about organization. Rent a party bus, Fill that bad boy up with as much brown liquor and tequila as possible. Get as hot and bothered as you can before the game. Pop 100 milligram edible so you IDGAF when you're sitting in those seats and enjoy the game.
I
man.
love it. I love the strategy, Sean.
You're speaking Rich's language.
I love the strategy. Mike in Illinois.
Well, that's what Dan Byer said too, though. You got to. This is not for the weak-hearted, right?
Oh, no,
and
it's
you
not.
got to come prepared.
Well,
These are people who know what they're doing.
Mike's from Illinois, and I feel like some of the coldest times of my life were walking through like Chicago in December or January. Like awful. What's up, Mike?
Yeah, man. Hey, I agree with Sean. You got to be a weenie if you don't go. I mean, come on. We're all football fans, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we live for. So, hey, I wanted to give you guys a tip, actually, on how to keep your hands warm.
Yeah.
You know them doctor gloves, those doctor's gloves, the stretchy ones?
Yeah, of course.
You know, the snap-ons or whatever? You put those underneath your work gloves or your snow gloves or whatever you're going to use, and I guarantee your hands will not get cold. I promise you.
You know, look at this. People
Good
giving
idea.
him great advice here on CNR.
Again, pros. People know what they're doing. So we're saying if you're a young college kid, that's a definite exception because you're on a budget and you're making memories and you're young and stupid, so why not? I choose to be comfortable. I don't care if it's my team or not. But I do understand what Sean said, too. That's coming from, I'm a spoiled fan myself. If your team hasn't been in it in a while and you never know when that next opportunity is, that's another reason to say, well, yeah, we got to go.
That is
I
a layer
do
of the,
get
that is
that.
a layer of the conversation.
That is it's a big layer.
Skipping a Chiefs NFL playoff game nowadays does feel though like skipping a Yankees playoff game in the 90s. There'll be another,
Right.
You know, and
That's an
Now-
entitled perspective.
if you're, I mean, I know the Lions play inside, but let's say they didn't. Would that change your mind? Let's say the Lions played outdoors and that was the story. It might be different because the Lions haven't been there. Kansas City has been there, you know, pretty consistently, and as Dan Byer said, could very well be there for the next 5 to 10 years.